Well, I think that all of us know of a place that makes us happy. Maybe a place in our house, a place in our garden, or maybe out there on the beach. Any room, and if you don't have time to go out, to just be in that very comfortable space. And then just, it's very much like self-care. And once you're there, to just really listen to your thoughts and see if you can let that go away, sit on the side and just take inhalations, inhale and exhale, and see what happens. Just like in our yoga class, observe what happens to your body and notice yourself, you know.
Dr. Eva Rose is a professor of communication in Chaminade University of Honolulu. She is a certified yoga teacher and living her best life in Hawaii. She went through divorce, found her new self through yoga, meditation, pranayama. Let's hear her reawakening story. Hi, Eva. How are you?
Hi, Avrora. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you and to be such a special thing that I create this new environment for my podcast. And then I changed the topic slightly. Even though it's still about health and fitness, it's not only about that. So today, guys, we're going to talk about reawakening, I would say.
Yes.
About cultural appropriation and how you specifically, Eva, maybe you could share to us, went through the process of involving through yoga teacher training, and even before that, through 20 years of your experience, right, in yoga. But let's start from the beginning for people who don't know you, because, I mean, my introduction is so little from what I know about you. So could you tell everyone where you're from? What do you do for living right now? And maybe anything that you can share what's bring you to yoga specifically.
Well, I am Eva Washburn Repolio, and I'm a professor at Chaminade University, like you said. But my entry to yoga was really very much a part of my desire to recover from a divorce. So when I met my now husband, Curtis, he was already doing yoga when I met him, and he was the one who encouraged me to go into yoga. And that's the reason why it became so much a part of my new self, my new authentic self, just to be still the way yoga teaches us, and it just makes you feel very peaceful. And so those very simple things about yoga, to be still and to be peaceful, were really the first invitations to yoga that I responded to.
That's wonderful. So what do you teach in your university?
Oh, I teach intercultural communication.
And where are you from?
And I'm from the Philippines.
Nice.
Yeah, so being a person from a different culture in the United States, teaching intercultural communication is like teaching who I am and how I have been able to manage being from a different culture, in a culture that I don't belong to, that now I'm beginning to belong to. So we study the meaning of culture, all the elements of culture like values, worldview, religion, your own idea of what you want to die for, you know, and what makes you happy. Then we study racism, discrimination, prejudice, stereotyping. All those are really big, heavy words that sometimes students don't really like to talk about much. But then when we approach it in terms of who you are and what your culture is, that is the first part, then it's easier for them to begin to see that everybody loves their culture. Yeah. So if I love my culture, I should respect another person who loves their culture.
Well, I hope everyone will be on the same page with you, honestly. Through my immigration here, it wasn't the case for all the time, but still, it's so wonderful to hear that. And I definitely have to say, you guys, that Curtis, her husband, and Eva was such inspiration for me when I met you in Hawaii Yoga Institute. I mean, I am being in my 30s, deciding to become a yoga teacher and thinking that this is so late to switch the career and what even I'm doing. And then I met you guys. It doesn't matter what age you are, I think it's an amazing, amazing career, right? Doesn't matter what career you are, being a professor or teacher or whatever, you can still do whatever. You can change your career. You can always keep learning and definitely knowing something new. So thank you for that, first of all.
Yeah, I read a post on Facebook that said, I don't want to read novels from 30-year-olds. I want to read it from 60-year-olds who have seen so much already.
Wow,
So it's I think when you reach my age, the world is just as beautiful or even more beautiful. And there's just so much to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. You gave me so much hope. But can we start from the beginning? You always wanted to be a teacher, and how you actually ended up in the United States?
Oh, my dad's a lawyer and my mom's a teacher. And I wanted to be a lawyer. So I went to law school, but then I did not see it as something that would be for me, fighting inside a courtroom and watching people who are older people committing crimes. I thought I should be on the very beginning part of it, teaching young people to know what is right or wrong or good or bad so that they won't commit crimes. And I was so inspired by the way my mother looked at kids and cared for kids. But I'm a theater major. I perform on stage. So
I didn't know that about you.
I know.
Too. Do you know that?
You told me about it.
I mean, for some of you guys who don't know, I used to be a professional actress.
Yeah.
So, well, we do what we actually know how to do here. Being on a camera. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I love directing. Kurt has been on stage here in Honolulu many times. I think he's a better actor than me because I love writing and directing. But what I'm trying to say is I love to perform. I love to be on stage and I love to deliver lines. Mm-hmm. So that has led me to teaching. And teaching, you're performing every day.
Yes, you're right. So how did you end up in America from Philippines?
So my first husband was invited as a professor at the University of Hawaii. And I came along. I was not very excited about it because I did my master's in my 20s in Connecticut. And I finished that. I went home to the Philippines. I like living in my country. But then when I got married first time, we moved here to Hawaii. And then I got divorced and was gifted with a second marriage to my new wonderful husband.
Yeah, so you started to do yoga when you got divorced, or before that before you had never done yoga?
No.
So what tools, I guess, you used before that to kind of connect to yourself, to find that inner peace?
I ran 3 marathons before yoga. Yeah, I ran a lot. I swim. I was very active as a young girl. I still love to swim. I think I am still very zen when I'm swimming.
Yeah.
But yoga, because I'm getting older, but also because of the philosophy that allows you to redesign your cells just by meditating, by just letting go of the things that are not supposed to affect your body. That is a strength.
Yeah.
That is really ushered in by yoga, more than other sports, I think.
Yeah, I agree. But with even this being said, what's interesting to me, that because I speak to many, many different athletes, and all of those people, even though they may not even, realize that, subconsciously, they are looking for answers. And that's kind of pushed them to push their body through the limits.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like for all the athletes that they talk about, I don't know. And then I remember that, misconception that I heard maybe in USSR, I don't know about America, that athletes are not smart, quote unquote, they're stupid, they just, I guess, like trained, that's all. This is not true.
Of course not.
So it's interesting, like you was a runner and then you fell in love with yoga. So it's kind of just to deepen the connection. I think all the athletes is actually people who are looking for answers. I truly believe so. But in the same time, I want to ask you, because that was my stepping point into yoga. I kind of was scary of yoga being a religion.
Mm.
And I know a lot of people who are watching and listen to my podcast have that misconception. That's why I have it as a question to you. Have you felt that? Like what religion you are? Even do you even believe in God?
I am a Roman Catholic, but as a professor and a person who has read so many books in my life, I do understand that other cultures are just simply fine without my religion. They don't have to be Roman Catholic to be happy. And even where I come from, I teach in a Catholic university. We do ecumenical services where different religions or leaders from different religions are in the same table talking about the spiritual. So the spiritual is what I teach my students. What makes you happy? What makes you peaceful? What do you want to fight for? Things that make your energy really become useful for yourself and others. Yeah, so I don't impose my religion on others. I believe in communing with nature, And now with yoga, I have learned that this is a philosophy of really honoring yourself, which is very far from what other religions are teaching us. Of course, you still serve others and you still give your talents for other people, but yoga has made me love myself better, which was not how I was brought up. I was brought up to serve others, to always take care of others, to really pour all my energy and efforts and talents to take care of others to the point of exhaustion. Just like what we learned about the myth of normal and why people get sick, because they're overdoing, Yoga has taught me to be kind to my body and to treat it with such, well, the word is sacred for me, but I don't think yoga uses the word sacred a lot. But it talks about stillness and just really acknowledging the present moment, you know.
I totally agree with you. So when you just get into yoga, you didn't feel that connection with the religion at all, or you felt it, but you overcome that somehow. Because I'm going to have the bad policemen there saying, what she's talking about, this is a religion, because you have this, and that. So can you distinction here, like pointing on why yoga is not religion, at least to you?
Well, it's not, religions are led by leaders who have a book to say, follow this, and this is what we will do to make this religion known to the leader and to the followers. That is one quality of all religions. There is like a priest or a rabbi or whoever is the leader. There's no leader in terms of yoga. You're the one dealing with your own breath. So it's not a religion. Yeah. And the guidelines are just to be still and to be doing your asana so that you can arrive at a certain level of contentment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are no rules where we have to follow these rituals from a book, where most religions do that, So that's, I think, why it's not a religion.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And the other things that I could identify is there's not only not leader, but there's no set of rules that you cannot break. actually, in the opposite, yoga is teach you to break all the rules, and no perfect asana exists. Any asana is perfect if that feels right in your body, right? Any posture or no posture at all. So that's kind of the biggest, I think, definition of like why it's not the same.
And there's no building where you have to go every one day of the week. Your entire existence is connected to the wind, the sun, the plants, and every other living thing.
And then also, yoga is just a philosophy. That's the right description, I think. And then I like that as we were going through this Hawaii Yoga Institute training, we find out that yoga became, actually was created even before any religion was existing. It's so old. So, like, to consider it to be one of the religion is just basically wrong.
And our teachers also taught us that we are grasping at what we can get a hold on. Because we don't know the nature of its existence in the ancient times. And to be worried about using it for commerce or, but to really become more peaceful within yourself and therefore become more peaceful with the rest of your community.
Yeah.
And isn't that so nice?
Absolutely. That's why I teach yoga and you too, right? It's all about peace. And then me as being Ukrainian is something that I preach. I preach from the bottom of my heart. You mentioned there Reef of Normal, and I wanted to talk about here. I have it here in my questions. We're not going to go in deep what is exactly. You guys can Google it. It's on YouTube. You can watch that wonderful talk by who? Do you remember the name?
Gabor Mate.
Yeah.
And we bought the book. I actually got it the other day.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did you read it?
No, Kurt and I are fighting over who gets to read it first. I think
you can play it with your father. You know what is that?
Yes.
That's a good idea. But you can just give it to me. I would love to read it first. So I'm gonna break a deal for you guys. Well, but can you tell a little more just for our listeners and whoever can now see this on YouTube? If you just listen to us, guys, there's a YouTube version, and I put all my heart into it. So please watch us. So what is about and what is talking about this guy there?
Well, the myth of normal is really talking about how our childhood shaped how we look at the world. And when we do encounter difficulties that may result to physical illnesses, it might not be treated properly if we don't ask the patient what happened to you.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's applied to your personal childhood?
Definitely.
Do you share for us?
Sure. As a child, I also experienced trauma. And for instance, it's very similar to what Gabor experienced when your parents are busy with work, or in particular, they are neglecting you for other types of addictions, perhaps, or in the case of Gabor Mate, he was left with another person by his mother at 6 months old. That type of trauma, whether it be addiction, neglect, divorce, when the child is in pain, it manifests as illnesses when you grow older. So with me, for instance, I was always very afraid to be left alone or to be neglected or not invited or rejected, because as a child, I felt that I needed more attention, and then you seek for attention, and it could probably come out in other ways, maybe negative ways to seek attention, or just over ambitious, about things that you probably don't need to do, and just be happy with what you have because you want people to notice you. So these are results of that, and it might result to illnesses. But when you go to the doctor, according to Gabor Mate, they might not ask you about these things. They might just give you a pill for your pain or for your depression.
Yeah, but that's what's happening. This is our life. As being as a nutritionist, I always hear the stories. People come to me with so many different illnesses, and I always ask, like, what did your doctor tell you to do? And then there's a set of pills that never helps, or that helping, but they're hurting something else in the body. So it's like that circle that you're always going through, right? Going to your doctor, taking a pill, then pill is healing something, but is reflecting on something else. So there's a time when you have to go again and again and again. And
if there are side effects, you need another pill to treat the side effects. And now you have 2 or 3 pills going.
Yeah. And then you kind of like, there, you cannot stop taking them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really dangerous and sad. And there's something that we cannot change. But what we can change is let people know that, for example, how you help yourself, right? Overcome this childhood trauma. And I believe all our problems has actually come from the childhood. And the one that you gave us...
Maybe because our parents were never trained how to take care of us in the first place.
That's for sure.
A lot of people get married and because they fall in love with each other. And then they have their children and it's all like, how do I do this? Yeah. I always tell my students there's so much more questions that are asked if you apply to work at Macy's or other stores than getting a license to get married from the Department of Health. They don't even ask you any question. You want to get married? Here, sign, you're married.
Yes.
But there's more qualification questions asked by stores.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's easy for people to get married, but it's very hard for people to know how to take care of kids.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because I believe like people who want kids, they think they can handle it, but as soon as they get one, they're like all over the place. So let's come back to the question of your childhood. So first of all, it's interesting to me. I can see that transition from not being seen to wanting you to perform. So you become an actress,
yes,
and then a yoga teacher and a professor. So people can see you, can listen to you, can learn from you, right? So there's something behind that is really wonderful too, that brings you to this profession.
Mm-hmm. But it's painful because then you keep on not knowing when are you going to be satisfied. My dad was a very strict person. He wanted us to always get A's, always be first, never second. Second is a failure, and it was not easy to deal with that. Because then we had to always make him happy with us. And he was not happy if we were not excellent. That was traumatic, for kids to have to deal with that. But now, as I grow older, of course, and as I'm a teacher and now a yoga teacher, I have just learned to accept myself and not have to always excel, not have to always be ambitious. And that's why I'm becoming a yoga teacher. I hate grading now.
But would you suggest something to someone who maybe struggle with the same show? I think it's so related to me, to a lot of people I know who are always not satisfied, you know what I mean? Like, what helped you to become to that specific point where you are now?
Well, I remember our Yoga Sutras, and the Yoga Sutra was, number one, once you begin the study of yoga, then you are now going to start the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind, right? And the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind is a challenge. And this fluctuation might be, I want this, I want that, I want more, I want this, versus I can live without this, and I'm fine, I love myself, I don't need. And then the Yoga Sutra continues to say that it might bring you to your authentic self if you can still your mind. And that authentic self is, again, another challenge because who is our authentic self? Yeah. And how do I tear down the layers of pretense and just really be Eva? And this is Eva. This is all you get. I am comfortable with you because we've been together 12 weeks and it feels like I don't have to pretend with you, And it's like we've been through so much together that I, whatever is happening in my life, it's not something I need to hide or, you know. And then the next Yoga Sutra says, otherwise, we might go back to those mental fluctuations where the mind is not steady. And I think, I don't know, when we say fluctuations of the mind, it could be anxiety. It could be, oh my God, I was not good enough. Or, oh my God, I need more. Or just somebody said something and I'm hurt. Yeah. So then the last of those sutras that I actually memorized for our test was, then you are going to arrive at steadiness and sweetness. Yeah. And even with the asana, when I do a downward dog, or which is one of my favorites, I'm kind of like John. John, I think, like downward dog. But yeah, John, our classmate.
I know, they don't.
John is our classmate in our yoga training, and he liked downward dog. I know other people liked other asanas, but once I reach the pose that I know I have already completed, I take a deep breath and say, can I relax here? And do I find the sweetness here? But I'm still in a pose. That means that I'm still making sure that my hand, my feet are strong and I'm breathing. And I think that's the way with life, you know, that whatever situation we are in, are we okay?
I agree with you 100%. And I never think about asana as the pose in this way for some reason. Even though I was trying to find stillness or find ease every time when I did yoga, but I didn't think about that as in our life. I think it's a powerful thought to have. And then immediately as you said that, there's the other things that I do in life came in my mind, like I do cold plunge, right? The same thing. Like I push myself to the limit there as my body suffer, but then sitting there in the ice, I'm trying to find peace. Realizing mentally that I am okay and I have power here to release. Even though my body is maybe not 100% comfortable, right? Just like in asana, you're not laying down unless it's shavasana. But even with shavasana, sometimes you can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, there's back pain or, you know, like different sounds outside, right? That kind of kick you in. So I think it's really interesting. I think through the physical uncomfortability, as you push yourself into that and you're trying to find peace through that, you train your brain to do the same in life. Because we're not always comfortable in life. We're actually almost non-comfortable. We're comfortable when we lay on the bed and we are, you know, having a tea with our husband. But most of the time we have to show up for ourselves. We have to go to work. We have to deal with things.
But Avrora, you always do your asanas really well. I mean, I think even the most difficult of asanas you can do. But do you
not comfortable, even though it looks easy?
I know, but what I'm trying to say is the other niyama, which is our relationship to ourself, aside from santosha, which is contentment, the other niyama, and I forgot the name right now, I know it starts with an A, is acceptance. Asteya. Yeah. Thank you.
Side note, guys, because she's with sutras and it was like, people maybe not know what is that. And now she getting into niyamas. You have to take 200 hours training to know what we talk about. Just ignore that part. And then...
no, but asteya, I like asteya because even if I can't get the pose and I fall, for instance, then I'm okay. I do not love myself less.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's such a good lessons, right?
Yeah, and it makes me just say, well, I can't do it, and that's okay. Yeah, the other thing I really love about grounding, the intention of grounding, is the more grounded we are, like we know our limitations, we know our resources, our financial capability, or the support from friends, we also know how much to be ambitious for. Otherwise, we fall, right? Like, I know I cannot do handstands, and at my age, I don't want to do handstands. We have to just also be careful, right? Because then where's the peace and ease if you're falling all the time?
Yeah, it's interesting. But with this being said, I think being ambitious has some benefits too.
Definitely.
People who truly believe that they can do headstand at any age and they practice freaking every day safely, they will make and do it. I've seen those people. You know what I mean? I one of those who like tell me 10 years ago that you're gonna live in Hawaii, speak English on your podcast in your garage. I would say you're freaking crazy, right? But because I believe in that, I accomplished that. So I think that like a healthy amount of how you call it, believing in what you're capable of, even though it may not feel real at the moment, is good, isn't it?
I believe that ambitions should scare us, right? It has to be. If it's not scary, it's not an ambition, they say. But I also believe that it has to be based on very real grounding and realistic, analysis.
What is my options, right?
Yeah.
How can I get there?
I won't invest on a tall building that's 40 floors if I don't have enough money or enough friends to borrow money from in case things fall apart. So I think that's the balance. That's the balance that we are also learning in yoga, and that we can extend our dancer's pose or our warrior three if our feet are really firmly planted on the ground. And that's what I tell my students too. If you are aware of the reality of your situation, then be as ambitious as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. I want to write it down. You guys do.
Yeah.
And then because we are an Awakening You podcast, I have to ask this question is, do you believe that your awakening moment was your divorce? Or what was your awakening moment? And by that moment, I mean when you actually realized that there's something more than just simply life that we are living every day.
Well, marriage is a completely different topic, I guess, that we can talk another time. But I think that that is a rule imposed upon the world. Other people don't get married, or other cultures don't have marriage systems that are very much like a law, And other people, even if they're so in love with each other, they don't sign a piece of paper, But in terms of just awakening to myself, I realized that if you're healthy and you're physically strong and you really make your body strong, your mind is also healthy. That's why I developed my body again starting at 40. Yeah. When I was a child, I ran around a lot. I swam a lot. I did a lot of physical things, not knowing that I was making myself healthy. And I danced a lot. I danced the tango and the boogie and the cha-cha because it's a very Spanish world I live in. But then I did not know that, I'm developing my body. I'm developing my balance. I'm becoming more smart. But then I realized that if you take care of your body, you take care of what you eat, your brain can grow exponentially. You become very smart when your body is healthy. Yeah.
That's so cool. Hear that from the person your age who is experienced what they're talking about. And I have to ask you about a woman power, that secret that you maybe can share with me and with all the listeners. How you can, in your age, be so young and powerful and healthy. What is your routine or any self-care tips that you can share with us?
Oh, my oxytocin is my husband.
I love that.
I have he doesn't need
him for a couple of visits.
He doesn't need yoga to be zen. That's number one. I I think our relationship is very respectful and kind and very soft spoken. And we also read a lot. We love to read and share anything that we read. And I think the other thing that I like personally is I eat the food that I plant. So I have a garden and I want to eat the food that I plant. And in fact, my diet is dictated by my garden. If the leaves are ready, then I'll have to just do that. So it depends. Not everybody can have a garden, I know. And that is why we're going to make a really big garden in the Philippines.
Yeah, tell the listeners about your dream house in Philippines that you're building.
Well, we're building, hopefully, yoga center.
And you all invited, guys, by the way.
And you are invited. Yeah, we're hoping to also make it a multi-use facility where we can teach reading to the neighborhood moms so that they can tutor their kids. Because I have a reading degree and Kurt can also teach math.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it's very simple. Don't you think that you have a backyard garden and you eat the food that you make? It's like making money.
I guess, yes, but I'm not a big gardener. I wish I can do this. Hopefully I have my husband who I hope do it better than me. But in my age, I tried and nothing grows from what I take care about. It's just I don't know how to take care about. But you're right. That's my dream too. Always eat from the garden. This is not the case all the time, but we live in Hawaii, which is kind of a really great opportunity to go to the farmers market and buy like fresh stuff too. Okay. But I believe like even if you just have the vegetables and greens in your diet, if you cannot grow them, because some people can, they don't have a good weather all year round, they can buy whatever is available in stores. Just choose organic and choose a lot of fresh vegetables.
Right.
I think that's the key. We live in nowadays in the canned and packaged world.
Yes.
Like as a nutritionist, I go to the store and I just really suffer of seeing only small section of fresh food and the whole garage of packaged.
Yes.
Packaged.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who create that? This is not the case. Like 50 years ago, it wasn't like that.
No. And people were not also worried about their weight 50 years ago.
Yes.
People were not getting food that made them overweight very quickly.
Yes, and all this disease, the new generation of disease in COVID is all from that too, from what we eat and how we are related to our environment, which is sad to see, but this is like that myths of normal you talk about.
Yeah.
That instead of like trying to stress about that, let's just make healthy choices. And I think it's coming. I mean, new generation, from what I seen, I don't have a kids, but I have my nephew who came to me like from Ukraine already 8 months ago. And then if you do good to your body, new generation, the kids around you, even not your kids, just the kids that see that, they will copy you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like my eyes was so big when 5-year-old child asked his mom, hey, if there's any protein in that food I eat, what did you put there, Mom? Oh, no, don't buy these cookies. They has a lot of sugar. My auntie says, which is me, that this is not good. She never eat that. I promise you, I never teach him.
Yeah.
Not even worried about that. He just sees what I do. He see what my husband do. And he copies.
We copy the things that people we love do. Yeah. And so once they see it, they do it. Yeah.
So I would love to have you help me with the gardening. We will talk about that later on. Now let's talk about cultural appropriation, because the time flies so quick and I really wanted to touch on this topic with you. We actually talk about that a lot in Hawaii Yoga Institute, but for people who don't really know, what is that? Could you share some knowledge and explain what does actually culture appropriation mean?
I think it's simply doing or wearing or making something a part of who you are without knowing the history of that particular thing. Because knowing the history allows you to know how is this used in the context of that culture, you know? And a lot of cultures who are marginalized or disadvantaged, meaning they don't have the power or the voice to question other cultures who have more power than them, may not even have the opportunity to say, hey, that thing that you are doing or wearing is actually used for this particular event. So not knowing the history of that particular practice or artifact is not appreciated. Now, on the other hand, cultural appreciation is knowing the history of that artifact, knowing the history of that event or practice. So in yoga, a lot of yoga teachers are accused of cultural appropriation because there is not anymore a transfer of ideas in terms of where did yoga come from and how do we respect the history of yoga before we say that I know yoga. Yeah.
Yeah. I also wanted to add to that. So there's two kind of like things about cultural appropriation, two definitions. The one is the things that you was born with, right? So you may be born in some specific environment that you cannot control, and then you have to get appropriated to that environment, right? You can be born in the specific family, and then they set you some set of rules and religion, and then it's kind of like all that you cannot control. But then when you can control it, that's kind of a cultural appropriation that you can choose, that you can control and be careful what you're doing with the things that you don't know. Just like an example, remember when one of our classmates was explaining about this Mexican holiday, Cinco de Mayo, that's not even celebrated in Mexico, but it's celebrated in America, and I was shocked. And me being an immigrant, as well as you, we've seen so much of that in our specific culture, right? What would be an example of cultural appropriation from Philippines, let's say?
First of all, I'd like to go back to when people do things that they are not aware of, there should be some level of, as an intercultural professor, I really encourage dialogue, and be able to not just go around pointing, and being angry all the time.
Yeah.
Because it might be that this person appreciates your culture and has no knowledge of what they're doing. And you can educate this. It's the same with racism, discrimination. Some people are ignorant and they commit this mistake. Not that I excuse the mistake, but that there needs to be the ability to have a very respectful dialogue, to say that, because it's easy to be angry, but the results of anger in an intercultural event may cause more pain, more harm than reconciliation or understanding. So there are so many things now that are being, like, for instance, I wanted a party with all the headdresses of the different tribes from the Philippines, and everybody wears a headdress. And so I consulted, because I'm aware enough to know that I should ask questions. I consulted a few friends of mine who are also cultural, professors. And although they say the tribes will probably not mind, because we did ask a question. I bought a beautiful headdress from one of the Manobo tribes who came to the University of Hawaii. And we said, if we wear this in public, would you consider it cultural appropriation? And this particular person, who was like a respected member of the tribe, said that it's okay. We find that that is really an appreciation of our culture if you wear it in public. You know, so if those implements or artifacts are supposed to be for the dead, you know, and are only going to be worn for a funeral, you have to be aware.
Yeah, that would be tragic.
Yeah, that those things are not supposed to be taken out of the context of that event. Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with you. If you don't know, you just don't know. And then you
Yeah.
have to ask the person if they're aware, and if they not, don't use any ambitious or anger. Just explain to them and see how it goes. Because
Yeah.
believe in, especially in America, so many different cultures and things that we don't know. And unfortunately, it doesn't even have time or need to go so much in deep, and we can be not aware. But specifically with yoga, it's just really funny to the funny side how yoga was culturally appropriated into the West, and everything that we have now is basically appropriational, if I can say that, yoga. And that's why I think there's so much conversation about how yoga is supposed to be taught. What style of yoga do you teach? Is it religion? If it's not, why? Is it philosophy? Who built this philosophy? Who is the one who actually created? So all of these questions, people from India who was in the roots of yoga, they don't care. They don't care. They just did the asanas because they felt that they was healthy for their body, and they followed the philosophy because they felt that this is connected to their heart, right?
Yeah, and we cannot know everything.
Of course.
And it's very important to, that's why I went to yoga teacher training. Even if my husband and I had been doing this for 20 years and read a lot about it, we still felt like we need to listen to those who have also listened to others. And really, we are very thankful that we found the right center to learn how to become teachers, because we were really given a lot of information by Sona and all the books that Sona requested, you know. From all the books that they showed us, we probably bought 5 already.
Did you read that?
We haven't read all of them. Yeah.
try it.
The Bhagavad Gita we bought, you know.
I have also did. I did had like 3 new books in my shelf that I'm trying to read now, but yeah, it just doesn't have time to read all the books in once, which is I'm so sorry about. Sometimes I really want to. I really want to have time to only read the books and don't do nothing else. Like that, life would be maybe not so interesting, but really knowledgeable. At the same time, I wanted to ask you, you did 20 years of Yangar. Why is Yangar? Why is a specific yoga teacher you choose?
Oh, we still go. We still go to Iyengar Yoga now.
Why is that style?
It's like a really, it's therapeutic yoga. And it's very, the discipline is very high. And in terms of the specific movement of your body and arms, there's really very little that we can hear from our teacher. Very rarely will she say, oh, if you don't want it to do it this way, it's okay. No, we're going to work to get to that. Mm-hmm. It's very strict. And the alignment is their goal. The bone alignment and your asanas have to be almost perfect. There's room for different steps before you go to the final pose. You can do it this way if you're new, and then you can go to a basic 2 level until you get to the pose that they really want. Having said that, I still really like also how we were trained, where there was so much freedom and positivity and encouragement to just do what you can right now. So it's like 2 worlds when we entered our training. And yet we like the therapeutic yoga, where it really is healing, and there's a lot of meditation and pranayama. So we were actually told that there are about 12 different layers to become a yoga teacher. And the first session is to learn 70 asanas. And then the second one too. And in those first two is where you are really going to learn therapeutic yoga.
Yeah, this is a lot younger style of study yoga. And I feel familiar with Bikram because I've been trained as a Bikram yoga teacher before the specific Hawaii Yoga Institute training. And it's also similar, and I would say it's even stricter than Yongar. The Bikram is even more strict and super specific, and he had more than 24 asanas, and then he did it twice, each one of those. So yeah, there's a specific, benefits from having such strict rules. But what I like about approach that we went through and talk about with you today is yoga is so much more than just an asana. And I wanted to, you kind of mentioned a meditation and pranayama, but even more than that, right? There's so much. There's a mantras, those philosophy in Yoga Sutras that you just mentioned today. There's so much more into philosophy. And what I love about yoga, and I wanted to mention because I'm sure a lot of people don't know, that yoga doesn't have to have an asana. There's a specific yoga styles that you just learn the philosophy or just do meditation and that's also yoga, right?
Yeah.
So you love meditation. We kind of talked about before we press record about that you wanted to do more of meditation study in the future. But meditation, it's going to be really hard for people to start doing. So can I ask you, when did you start meditating, and what was your first step into that?
As a student in college, I studied poetry and short stories and the novel. And I think my brain went into these worlds while I would be reading. And that to me is my beginning understanding of you can actually train yourself to be somewhere else. You don't have to be always concentrated on one thing. But that was just reading. Now that I am understanding yogi meditation, I was fascinated by Stephanie's stories that people in India in the past could meditate for days or years.
Stephanie is our yoga teacher.
Yeah. Stephanie, who was our yoga teacher, would talk about all of these people who would just be so focused that they could sit there and forget to eat for days, But I want to continue it because it changes your cell constitution, the way your body is. It helps you become more healthy.
Do you know there's actually studies on that right now that is actually like showing that meditation is definitely changed not only your mindset but have a physical effect on that. And then they finally prove that already. So you're absolutely right. I believe in that too. But help you to do it. And what was the tools? Like, let's say someone who never done it, go meditate. What they gonna do, right? They're gonna be like, what? What do you mean? Like, so what maybe you can share, remember, how did you get into it? Like guided meditation through someone is talking to you or just sitting down and quiet? What helped you to start it up to actually feel like it's working or is something that can be useful for you?
Well, it relieves my anxiety. If my heart is pounding, anxious, worried, when I allow myself to have the power to eliminate those thoughts, even if they are at bay, my heart would start slowing down in terms of its, pumping, and I really relax. And that power is amazing because you could make mistakes if you don't let your body and mind relax. Things could fall apart. You could drive in the wrong direction. You could even be eating like mindlessly if you don't know how to say, all right, those thoughts can stay away from me for a bit. And we were going through a meditation practice last week where the guide just said, pretend like there's a highway and there's a bunch of cars moving back and forth. You're going to sit away and look at those cars. Those cars are your thoughts. You don't have to be in the car. You can sit outside of the highway and watch those cars.
I love that.
Yeah. And that was so, like, yeah, it doesn't have to rule me. My problems does not have to dictate how my heart will pump blood around my body, because my body is important. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. This is what I actually also using, but I never like heard that specific was the highway thing. But I always trying to tell my students as we go into Shavasana to let your thoughts just come in and out, and don't try to reject them. Because it's like don't think about elephant and you will all of a sudden only think it's about elephant.
Yeah.
We're trying to like, don't think about anything, and you're gonna think about all the things in your brain that is possible and impossible.
And I read that it's actually like, exercising your muscle. The more you meditate, the more you know how to meditate. And the longer it will be for you to stay away from those thoughts that affect your body. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I think it's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think, as I already mentioned, the science is just starting kicking in to see what's really possible with human body. And it's so interesting to me that we went to the IE. We're trying to get to the moon. We're trying to do all this crazy stuff to get outside from our bodies when we don't actually learn them to the extent. We don't know what we can and do, what we are capable of, and we are building the robots.
And we're healing our body in the process while we are meditating. Just like when we sleep and we are restored.
Yeah, and I think it's powerful too. As well as pranayama. Do you practice breathing exercises?
Yes.
How often do you do that?
Kurt and I try to do Supta Virasana every day and do our breathing. Supta Virasana is lying on your back with your knees bent backwards, so you're actually on your shin, and then you're on your back, but your knees are bent. And then you can have a support, like a bolster.
And then you breathe like that?
And you're just breathing for about 5 minutes.
Just
slow.
Inhales and exhales?
No, very slow inhale and slow exhale. Yeah.
Wow. I should try that.
You should try Supta Virasana. I know we didn't do that in class.
Yeah, I do different set of techniques. But anyways, guys, use your breathing as a tool to guide you through your meditation, and to actually, with your breathing, you can have so many options. You can get yourself energized. You can get yourself relaxed. Like, breathing is one of those tools that is always accessible. It's always with us. And then we don't really use that enough. I truly believe so. I never could get into my ice bath without breathing.
Yeah.
Like, I sit down and I deeply inhale and exhale to calm myself down. And like, let's say Brahtika, one of the pranayama that we learn now, helping you to energize and actually get in a little bit hotter if you're in a cold environment. So I think it's just so powerful, the pranayama, and how we can use that. My husband, as you know, is free diver, and the thing that he does with the breathing, just to train himself for free dive. And I think, as just you mentioned about curtains, he'll live in 10. I think it's something about males that they are so much more connected to their inner self, less than females. They're more material. That's why when you guys walk into the yoga room,
maybe some males and some females.
Yeah, when you go into the yoga room or in any retreat center, there's going to be more females. And
yes,
all the females going to say, we are taking care of ourselves. We are wanting to get better. We are wanting to get healthier. And males just don't care. I believe that the males already got it. We're just working to get to that level, because we are so much more emotional, so much more material, you know what I mean, than they. So when Andre practicing his breathing exercises, when he's getting ready for some dive, he says after that, he not only just feel more calm, even when he dreaming, he had like so deep, profound experiences. So I truly believe that your breathing is connecting to your brain, and it can heal you too.
Absolutely.
Full that all of that is already in yoga.
Yeah.
You know, I've been doing fitness for over 10 years and nutrition, maybe like 7 years professionally. And then when I found yoga, I was fascinated that all of that is already there. All that I learned through the fitness, through the nutrition, was already in yoga.
They were very smart people. Mm.
So we encourage you guys to go ahead and check it out. Do yoga, more yoga. And, you know, before we finish up, because I feel like I can talk to you forever.
Thank you.
I really want to, but we have to have some time limit. I wanted to hear from you, from your experience, what you would recommend to someone who never actually done yoga or even meditation, how to start to take care of themselves, to search for something more. Because most of the time, 90% of the time for sure, people around there that are like, my life is simple, but there's something more. I feel like I'm not happy. What can I do? So maybe you can recommend something to people that may feel lost in some point, like you was sometimes when you was diverse.
Well, I think that all of us know of a place that makes us happy. Maybe a place in our house, a place in our garden, or maybe out there on the beach. Any room, and if you don't have time to go out, to just be in that very comfortable space. And then it's very much like self-care. And once you're there, to just really listen to your thoughts and see if you can let that go away, sit on the side and just take inhalations, inhale and exhale, and see what happens. Just like in our yoga class, observe what happens to your body and notice yourself, you know.
Yeah, it's super simple, guys, but I believe it's so powerful to actually pay attention to your breathing and what you experience at the moment. Unfortunately, we are most of the time like running away from our emotions, from what we have in life, what we experience. We're running away from that.
Yeah, but we're very privileged in that we have time to do yoga. Not everybody has time to sit down and relax. Yeah. Those of us who are working 2 or 3 jobs and have children and are probably taking care of their parents who are ill, you know, that's most of the world. I would say you and I and our husbands and are very privileged, and our privilege should extend to giving it to others and helping them find that 1 hour, maybe once a week, where they can see others and just be relaxed.
Yeah, because life is so short.
No.
If you don't do that, if you don't care of yourself, it's gonna fly like that, right? I truly believe that even those who may felt like they don't have time have to craft that time.
Yeah.
Because if your life go away, like, and you don't really control it, that's life is not for you, and you have to live for yourself, right? Self-love is where everything's starting. That's what I teach and I preach through my coaching. Because no matter what weight you are, what age, what does your body look like, what do you eat, if you don't love yourself, all your other things doesn't gonna help, you know?
Yeah, well, and I also appreciate that you're doing this because when we were classmates, you really encourage a lot of us to eat healthy.
Oh,
And
I didn't try to, honestly.
I know. Well, you did. You did encourage us, and which is really nice because it is consistent. And in terms of your whatever you said, whatever party we had, it was very consistent that you always reminded everybody to eat healthy, which is nice because then you not only is that your personality, but then we always remember that.
It's so interesting. Yeah, I truly don't try to. It's like probably my personality already, so I don't really control that. But thank you. Before I let you go, what are the things that you can share? People can find you to know more about you. Maybe you have Instagram, website, Facebook, whatever you want to share, because you're going to have your center soon. And I mean, you guys want to come. I'm sure we all want to come.
Yeah, I am very excited because at Chaminade University we have a program for faculty and staff. So I'll be teaching yoga every week on Wednesdays, but it's only for faculty and staff of Chaminade University. It's a restorative yoga. It's 4 to 5, very gentle stretches in the beginning, and then basically pranayama towards the end. And yeah, and once I am ready, I'm sure we will be able to video blog our journey into our retirement.
Maybe right now people somehow can follow your journey.
Not yet. I have not really created anything that makes people follow.
You guys wait for that. To come, I will reshare that anyways.
Thank you so much. You're very generous. Yeah.
Oh no, of course, thank you so much for spending time coming here and sharing your story. And I really appreciate what you shared today. And I truly believe that this episode is going to be so helpful for many people to hear. Either they just looking for something more than just simple life, or they maybe go through divorce or some, crucial things in life, to seeing you overcome that, open something more for yourself, and then don't stop learning in any age possible. And you look stunning. You look so beautiful. So many females right there, my age, will be just so happy to see that. So thank you. Thank you so much, Eva. I love you so much.
Love you too. Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in into our Awakening podcast, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.